Let's look at rounding off. And that example says a round off 3,186 to the nearest 10. I want to show you one way of doing that. And that is to imagine that you are counting in tens. Like, when you count in tens, you would say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and so on. You are jumping in tens. And if you continue counting like that, before you get to 3,186, you will realize that you will need first of all to get through or to get to 3,180. Then after 3,180, you go to 3,190, and so on and so on. You are counting in tens. Now the number 3,186 lies between these two numbers. So somewhere in between there we have 3,186. Right, imagine a number line between 3,180 and 3,190. Which of those two is 3,186 closer to? You will agree with me, it's closer to 3,190 than it is to 3,180, because between 3,180 and 3,186 there is a difference of 6 there. But between 3,186 and 3,190 there is only a gap of 4 units there. So you just need to count 4 more to get to 3,190 from 3,186. So we can agree, therefore, that 3,186 is approximately equal to 3,190 to the nearest 10. Right, let me show you another way of answering the same question. You can use any one of those because there's no need really to show quite a lot of working for these questions. They're quite straightforward. Right, so 3,186. You will remember that these here are units, these here are tens, these are hundreds, and these are thousands. And now you are rounding off to the nearest 10. And what you do is you go to your tens digits, which is 8 in this case. Right, so 8 is our tens digits. But we need to check the unit digit. If the unit digit is equal to 5 or more than 5, then we do what we call round up. And that means if this number here is equal to 5 or greater than 5, then we need to take a 1 and add to the tens digits. That is why we are rounding up, so the 8 goes up to 9. And where there was a 6, we now leave a 0 there. So the answer then becomes 3,190. Please take note that in our final answer, we still need to have our units, our tens, our hundreds, and our thousands. So a number that goes up to the thousands should be rounded off to the nearest 10, but it should still go up to the thousands. So don't leave the unit digit, or rather don't leave nothing at the unit digit. The answer cannot be 319. Right, I hope that is clear. Let's look at another example. So this one here, 24,547. We want to round that number off to the nearest 100. Once again, if you are using the first method, it's like you are counting in hundreds. So if you count in hundreds, you go 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. You continue up to 24,000. From 24,000, you will obviously go to 24,100. Then you move on to 24,200. And so on and so on. You will therefore get to 24,500. And from 24,500, you'll get to 24,600. You are jumping in hundreds. All right. Now, your number, 24,547, will then lie between 24,500 and 24,600. What you can do now is check the gap between these two numbers. The difference between 24,547 and 24,500. If you minus these numbers, you will get a 47. Similarly, if you subtract 24,547 from 24,600, and that will give us 53. Right, now you can tell that that number 24,547 is actually closer to 24,500 than it is to 24,600. So your final answer for that one, you could then say 24,547 is approximately equal to 24,500. Don't forget to write this statement here, to the nearest 100. All right. Let me show you the other method. The other method which we really prefer, I think, is this one here. You need to remember that these are units, these are tens, these are hundreds, these are thousands, and these are 10,000s. And now you are rounding off to the nearest 100. So maybe mark it like this. You are rounding off to the nearest 100, which means your attention or your focus is on the hundreds. Now, the digits from the units to the hundreds, though those digits are very important, especially if you are rounding off to the nearest 100, you need to then check the tens digit. If the digits, and this is the digit I'm referring to here, if that digit is smaller than 5, all you do is replace with 0. Right, just replace with a 0 and keep your hundreds digit as it is. But if that digit was bigger than 5 or equal to 5, then we were going to round up. In other words, we were going to add a 1 to the 5 under the hundreds. But in this case, that tens digit is smaller than 5. Therefore, we can just conclude wherever there is a 4, we will put a 0, and where there is a 7, we'll put a 0. And so we conclude that 24,547 will be approximately equal to 24,000. The 5 will stay as it is because that number 4 is smaller than 5. And obviously that 7 goes away as well. And that is to the nearest 100. Right, you do the same with decimal numbers. This one is 374,567, and you want to round it off to the nearest 10, which means you actually take note that these are your units and these are your tens. and these are your hundreds. Now you want to round off to the nearest 10, so your focus right now is on the 7 because 7 is under the tens. But we need to check the digit before the tens. In other words, we need to check the units. So if that unit digit is smaller than 5, we replace it with 0 and we keep the 7 as it is. But if the unit digit is 5, equal to 5 or greater than 5, then yes, we replace it with a 0, but we add a 1 to the tens digit. So if you look at this one, our unit digit is a 4. It is smaller than 5. So we will replace it with a 0, but we are not going to change the 7. So the 7 stays the same. So that number 374,568 will be equal to, so we said because 4 is smaller than 5, we cannot add 1 to 7. So 7 stays as it is, but the 4 is obviously replaced with 0. And everything after that should be thrown away. So your answer is 370 to the nearest 10. Okay. Now let's look at rounding off to a given number of decimal places. 227.334 should be rounded off to 2 decimal places. What this means is we need to leave our answer with only 2 digits after the comma because it says 2 decimal places, so there should be 2 digits after the comma. Right now you can see there are 3 digits after the comma. Now we are going to use or to follow this process here. 2 digits after the comma, you need to count immediately after the comma your 2 digits. Like that 3 is your first digit and the other 3 is your second digit. So you want 2 decimal places, so you count 1, 2, so that is where you are. But before you write down your answer, you then check the digit that follows. After you've counted 2, check the digit that follows. If that digit is less than 5, then throw it away and do not put a 0 in its place. Just throw everything away and your answer will be the 2 digits that you see just after the comma. But if the digit is more than 5, then we are going to add a 1 to the digit that follows. In this case, you will notice that the digit that follows after we've counted our 2 is equal to 4, and 4 is smaller than 5. And because 4 is smaller than 5, we can ignore that and just focus on the 3. So the answer is 227.33. That is correct to 2 decimal places. All right, very quickly, what about this one here? Call it number 8. 567,2436. This one should be rounded off to 3 decimal places. All right, so we said we need to count, in this case, 3 decimal places. This is 1, that is 2, that is 3. So those are the 3 digits after the comma. But I can't just use those before I consider the next digit. In this case, the next digit is 6, and 6 is bigger than 5, which means we will take a 1, because this is bigger than 5, we'll take a 1 and add it to the 3. So we need to add a 1 to the 3. So our answer becomes 567,244 to 3 decimal places. All right.